You are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue, Thursday, January 18th, and we have a lineup for you today. A lot of NFL to talk. So, super wild card weekend happened. First of all, we absolutely crushed the prediction of Tampa Bay over Philadelphia.
We crushed that. I mean, look, that Rams game, I'm going to say, I think they were the better team. I think they just missed out on a couple opportunities in the second half. That was a fantastic game. We said Green Bay had a chance to make. Look, if you follow us on SoBet, 5-1, baby. Are you kidding me?
Where was that during our regular season bets on a budget? That's what I want to know.
We were sharp line. I don't want to hear it. I would have loved a good 5-0. But the only game we lost was Pittsburgh. And, I mean, they were 6 inches of a Mason Rudolph ball to the end zone in that first half away from a touchdown. It would have been a 7-point game. We would have covered, but whatever.
And plus, the refs, when you're playing against Buffalo and the Zebras, it gets a little bit tough.
George Pickens said it best.
There were some rough calls, nevertheless. It was a great weekend of football. I hope you guys watched. Hope you enjoyed. We're here to discuss it all. So we're going to start off with Tim's rant on NFL head coaches. I think he's going back to that Buffalo-Pittsburgh game. If you saw the presser afterwards and watched Mike Tomlin get questioned about his contract and then subsequently walk off the stage.
Didn't even get the question finished.
No, they were halfway through the question. Yeah, that's correct. So we're going to start the show with that. I think that's only fitting. Then we're going to move into hits and misses to finish out the first segment. Into the second, we will have our divisional round predictions and our game of the week, which gets bumped up from the third segment like we normally have it into the second. So make sure you watch that. And then into the third, we will start with the news and end with a discussion on NFL coaching, do a little NFL coaching carousel. We do it every year. And this year is going to be very interesting and probably predicting a couple other vacancies that may open up before the end of the season. But guys, we appreciate you listening, watching, whatever you're doing, however you're doing it. YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Prime Video to watch the show. If you want to listen to the show, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and the iHeartRadio app. That's what you're going to want to tune into. This is The Issue. We appreciate you being here.
That was a good little segue, though, that the coaching, you mentioned the coaching carousel. We do it every year, and this year is going to be, it's looking dicey, it's looking spicy. I'm excited to discuss it, and I'm actually going to discuss it here and kind of give my personal take on it in terms of 3 specific games. And for one of the coaches, actually a couple of the coaches, there's more history to back it up. So let's go ahead and start. We'll go in chronological order. So let's go ahead and start with the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. That was an utter embarrassment. And I know it's a tough situation to win in, right? Cowboys coach, Jerry Jones, right? You know, Jerry and Stephen Jones make most of the decisions. And Kellen Moore's gone. And they looked better without him. And then you get to the playoffs and you get utterly humiliated. I want to give Matt LaFleur credit before I go in on Mike McCarthy. Because that was a masterclass. I've never seen more guys not just open. I'm talking butt booty naked, wide open. Like, it was unbelievable. I can't believe I used that term on an actual real show. But, I mean, for real, that's how open that these guys were. It was unbelievable. I mean, they were running the football with authority, throwing it at will. Jordan Love looked like an all-pro. And he has, to be fair, down the stretch, he has been so, productive, mature, a good leader. And I had my questions for the first half of the year about Jordan Love, and that's a testament to coaching. That 180, that full pivot from what we saw in the first half of the year from Jordan Love to now is unbelievable. Matt LaFleur deserves all the credit in the world. That Green Bay organization deserves all the credit in the world. Looks, as of right now, like they found their next guy. We'll see. I mean, it's only, 16, 17 game sample size, so we'll see. But as of right now, looks really good to put up that performance in a playoff game against what we viewed as a pretty good defense, especially at home in Jerry World, right? Now for the Mike McCarthy side. I don't think anything... I think if he lost that game no matter what, I think there's going to be questions about his job, right? I don't think the severity of the loss would dictate if you were having this conversation or if you weren't having this conversation. But it doesn't help when you get utterly embarrassed. When the game's over at halftime, that's how you know, right? That's rough. That just tells me you flat out weren't prepared. It wasn't even competitive in the first half, right? You were on script and you weren't ready to go. Right? You were on the plays that you thought were the best plays to start the game, and you were ill-prepared. Against the youngest roster in football. Green Bay's the youngest roster in football, and they looked not ready to go. And so to me, this tells there's a clear ceiling with Dallas, and it starts at coach quarterback. This is a coach quarterback league. Look at McVay Stafford. I know they lost, but that was a hell of a game. Campbell Goff. Aggressive. Efficient. Hell of a game. Who else won? C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Ryans appears to be the next Belichick Brady type. Defensive coach, really good coordinator, star quarterback. Right? Coach, quarterback wins. And clearly there's a weakness at both. I would argue you move off both. I've never been a Dak fan. He's fine. He's B to B plus on his best days. People argue A. I don't even think he's A on his best days, if we're being honest. I never bought into the whole, oh, he's the MVP of the league. I thought at best he should be 5th or 6th in voting. So Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, probably both have to go. My guess is Jerry, loyal to Dak, doesn't like to admit when he's wrong, right? He's like, I found Dak in the 4th round, and we built him. He's a homegrown guy. My guess is he'll keep Dak, pay him another contract, and he'll go get a new coach. And it's a good coaching market for coaches. I think he should go get a new coach. I would argue Dak should go with McCarthy and get out of town, but that probably won't happen. Let's go to the next one in order, Mike Tomlin. That was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. We can sit here and blame the officials all we want. That's 5 straight playoff losses, allowing 31 or more points. Somebody please remind me what side of the ball Mike Tomlin's on. Oh, wait. Yeah, it's defensive. He's a defensive backs guy. That's his origin. That's where he comes from. I'd argue he's more of a leader of men than he is an X's and O's guys, even on the defensive side of the football. But how can you let up 31 points a game in 5 straight? They're averaging 40.5 points per game allowed in Mike Tomlin's last 10 playoff games. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They are ill-prepared. They've been outscored 121 to 40-something. I think it's 46 in the first half of those playoff games. They're not ready to go. For somebody that can motivate a team, they're not ready to go at all. They're terrible. They're awful. And here's the thing. It's different coordinators, it's different quarterbacks, it's different offensive linemen, it's different defenses. It's completely different teams. It's not like this is back-to-back to back-to-back where it's most of the same personnel, and it's like, well, the quarterback didn't play very well, and we can blame it on It's different quarterbacks. It's different quarterbacks. Oh, Marquise Pouncey snapped the ball. We have a different center. Well, the different left tackle. Well, the DBs, we don't have any of the same DBs. None of them. Well, the linebacker, nope, don't worry, we're on like our 4th string this year. Right, so it's not the linebackers. Right? These ones sucked. The ones the previous year sucked. The ones the year before that sucked. They all sucked. So it's not the players. Sure. Could we all execute better? Could the players be better? Sure. Who puts them in that spot? That would be Coach Mike Tomlin. It's been an utter disaster. I know. Oh, we've never had a losing season. Okay. Then go to Carolina. Carolina would love to not have losing seasons. That's the standard. That's or some would argue, the ceiling for Carolina, especially with Bryce Young. Go there then. That's not the standard in Pittsburgh. That's not the expectation in Pittsburgh. The expectation in Pittsburgh is not, well, we didn't lose that much. It's, did you win when it mattered most? We talk about it all the time. Are you great when greatness is required? Mike Tomlin is his weakest when greatness is required. He's at his strength when it doesn't matter much. Right? You start off 11-0 that one season. Yeah, because nobody cares that much about that early football. What happens when it mattered most? What happens when it gets uncomfortable? What happens when it gets dicey? The team goes down the drain. Tomlin's done a fantastic job here to build a culture, to keep them consistent, to keep them mostly accountable. They've been, at worst, a scrappy team. They do a lot of things well. I like a lot of the elements that he's implemented. But they have hit a ceiling. What he provides, they already have as an organization. They have toughness. They have the ability to draft and develop defense. We do not need that. We have hit our ceiling. Just because we've hit the ceiling doesn't mean Mike Tomlin's a bad coach. Doesn't mean that he should be damned forever and never coach again. Doesn't mean he's got to quit football. Doesn't mean we should not respect what he's done. But there comes a point in any relationship you have to pivot. You have to part ways. Look at Belichick and the Patriots. I'll be damned if so Tomlin's been here for 15 years, 14 years now? Belichick made it 24. If I got to wait another 10 years to see this parting of ways, I'm going to rip my hair out. And then let's go to Philadelphia last night. That was along the same lines as Dallas, ill-prepared. Here's what tells me most that Nick Sirianni's not ready to be a head coach. You guys remember that when he was in the tunnel, right, coming out of Arrowhead? I don't hear any more Chiefs fans. See ya, right? Remember that? Well, I want to let you know the Chiefs are still playing. They had a home playoff game. They won their division. They're playing again next week. And Philly had the most embarrassing loss in the last 2 decades as a franchise. And that is almost entirely on Nick Sirianni. The offensive line's good. I think they could have ran the ball more, but that's fine. We'll get to that in a second. I think Jalen Hurts is fine as a quarterback. Do I think he is, $45, $50 million? No, but he's a franchise quarterback, no doubt, top 10 guy. I don't think he's to blame at all. They have good weapons, even without A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Julio Jones, aging, but still good. Quez Watkins, good tight ends, good running backs. They're fine. It's not a roster problem. Howie Roseman's been a fantastic GM. They have talent coming out of their ears. It's a coaching problem. Look at Nick Sirianni before he gave Shane Steichen the play calling duties. His first year there, average to slightly below average. They got housed in the first round of the playoffs by that same Tampa Bay team with Tom Brady. And then he gives the play calling duties over to Shane Steichen. Wow, they're really, really good. Jonathan Gannon takes more control of the defense. Wow, the defense is, on the back end they're still weak, but really, really good. They're getting a ton of pressure. They can fill run gaps. They both leave. What are they? What's Philadelphia today? A mess? Right? The farther removed he is from those really, really good coordinators, the weaker and weaker they look. He looks simply incompetent at head coach. If it is a normal year for head coaching hires, they probably do stick with Sirianni. They probably do stick with Mike McCarthy. They probably do stick with Mike Tomlin. It's not a normal year. Harbaugh's on the market. Pete Carroll's on the market. Bill Belichick's on the market. Those are 3 Hall of Fame coaches. Mike Vrabel's on the market. He's a rock star of a young head coach. Ben Johnson, many think, is the next type of McVay type guy. He's on the market. Right? It's not a normal year for head coaching candidates. Can Nick Sirianni usually keep his job in a scenario like this? For sure. With a roster like that, with a high-profile team like that, with a high-profile owner like that, with a high-profile guy on the market like Bill Belichick out there, I don't think there's a chance Nick Sirianni keeps his job. I think by Wednesday, you're going to hear him and Mike McCarthy both get released from their teams. Now it's just a race to see who can hire Bill, because I think both want him. Obviously, both can't have him. My guess would be Philly. I think Bill would rather stay on the East Coast. I think it's a better overall roster. I would rather Jalen Hurts as my quarterback than Dak. I'd rather not have Jerry Jones as an owner. I'd rather have Howie Roseman as my GM. So I would go Philly over Dallas, but I think one of them gets him. I would lean Philly, and I hope they do get him. Just so I can be right. That's about it.
There's a lot of turbulence in the head coaching market, and problems at each one. The biggest glaring one to me that I wanted to bring up here real quick is Mike Tomlin. And you said that he's a great leader of men, which is true and has been true. But I can't unsee the locker room issues that have been around since, I don't know, 2016.
Did you hear Najee's comments?
Yep, Najee's comments were loud and clear, coming from a place of structure, talking about Alabama, to a place that has very little of it. Okay, if you're a leader of men, then where's the structure? Also, Dan Moore should not be getting 15-yard personal foul penalties after a PAT.
Yeah, that's wild.
That shouldn't happen.
That's wild.
Miles Jack shouldn't be penalized 3 times on the same drive. What else? Larry Ogunjobi had various problems throughout the night. Got caught holding twice on the same drive. Same with Darnell Washington. It was bad. It was, but you have to be able to get your players in line. And for the last, 8 to 10 years, Mike Tomlin has had 0 control over his locker room and 0 control over his players. It is horrific. It has looked really bad.
I don't think you're wrong. I think something's got to change. Again, I just think it's hit a ceiling. Do I think he's a bad coach? No. I think they have just hit a ceiling. I think his services would be better elsewhere. Like I said, Carolina. You want to go brag about 8-9, 9-8? Carolina would love you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Carolina would pay $30 million a year for 9 wins. They would pay $30 million a year to get crushed in the first round.
Yeah.
Go get that check, Mike. Go get it. Go get it, sir.
Right. There's a lot to unpack there. We will continue to do so over the coming weeks, but that's all we got there for now. Let's move into hits and misses, go over where we were right and wrong this week.
Hit number 1, guys. Seriously, we said it how many... Excuse me. We've said it how many times now? You know what? I don't even need that. How many times have we said, follow us on SoBet, tail the damn bets?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. You realize they don't put any schmucks on there, right? We're at the sharp line. They don't put any guys on there for no reason. All right, I don't want to brag or boast, but we are talent that was acquired by their talent acquisition people.
Yep.
All right, so we have the talent. 5-1 on Super Wildcard Weekend. Look, I can't swear like that on here, but I made Super Wildcard Weekend my blank the past 2 years. 10-2 the past 2 years. 5-1 this year. Barring Mason Rudolph not being terrible and George Pickens fumbling, the game away in the first quarter.
On the 18-yard line.
Yeah, we would have been looking pretty at plus 9.5. It was right there for us. 6-0 was right there for us. But nonetheless, 5-1. Playoff football, it's just, to me, I get a clear gauge on who is the better team. I don't have these external factors. Well, it's a letdown game there, Jim. It's a sandwich game. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? In the playoffs, everybody shows up.
Yeah.
I get a true read on who is the better team, who is the better matchup. And so we're 5-1 on bets so far this playoffs.
When it's clearly evident when you know your stuff, when you can look at that Tampa game, and before anything else, absolutely hammer Tampa Bay over Philadelphia, which was not the side that most people were betting on.
No, I would say, yeah, it definitely wasn't. I mean, and here's the thing that also made me feel pretty good about it is that within 17 minutes of every single game, I said, oh, yep, we got it. You know what I mean? There wasn't really a moment where I was like, oh, are they going to late cover here? It was like, felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Houston, pick 6, I'm like, okay, we're good. You know what I mean? We're okay. What was the night game that night? What was the night game on Saturday? Kansas City, Miami.
Yeah.
It was 16-7.5, didn't stand a chance. Miami didn't. Green Bay was throttling them. That was an easy one to get. The night game there, Rams and Lions. When it was 21-10, a little bit of doubt. But I mean, with that much offensive firepower for the Rams and just both teams in general, I was like, I feel pretty good about it. That late field goal helped. That was a little bit of a sweat, but still, you felt early on you're on the right side. It's going to be a close game.
Right.
And then, of course, last night, late last Monday night, you felt good about it. Okay, miss number 1 here. I figured the Steelers would keep it close, though. That was our one loss on those bets. But just too many mistakes at costly times. Missed tackles from guys like Minka. Those are tackles we have to make. It's just little things like that. Missing your gap assignments. I think Nate Burleson was talking about it at halftime. You have to stay in your gaps with Josh Allen. You have to rush with discipline. You can't just go with your hair on fire, or he's going to make you pay with those rush lanes. And they were not gap disciplined. Their tackles were poor. I didn't think the game plan was particularly clever, so I missed there.
Penalties. Two chances for interceptions that you let the ball drop and hit the ground. Those are things you have to have as the Pittsburgh side, knowing that you're coming into this game against the Josh Allen and that he's 16-0 when he doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, I would agree. Luke, this is a big hit for you. Hit number 2. You've been on it for months and months and basically the last year.
My boy CJ?
CJ Stroud is your guy. Congrats, my buddy. Go ahead. Take your little victory lap on this one.
It felt good. I didn't foresee the absolute shellacking against the Browns. I thought that he was still a little young for that. But, once again, he's just going to go ahead and impress. I've liked him ever since the draft. Or even before the draft, I was saying he should be valued over Bryce Young. I don't know why he wasn't. Bryce Young is undersized. I've said I would have taken C.J. Stroud in a heartbeat. And then I've been high on him all year. Welcome to the divisional round, Houston Texans.
If you're one of these teams stuck in quarterback purgatory, you're the Giants, you're Washington deciding if you should draft another quarterback, you're Miami with Tua, and after that loss, you're like, what do we do? And you look at C.J. Stroud 20 minutes into the NFL, you were like, that kid can play, right? It took, I mean, it's evident. 5 minutes into the playoff game, you're like, dude, C.J. Stroud is that guy.
Well, he has the tools, too. He has the size.
The arm, the accuracy.
The legs, the movement that he's able to orchestrate plays in the pocket. He impresses me, and I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks going forward.
Very smart, very well spoken, I would agree.
Yeah.
Mr. Number 2 here, Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield. I mean, obviously early, especially in Cleveland, I was tough on Baker, right? I thought he was a little bit immature.
We were.
Yeah, okay. Now, to be fair, like, he brought a lot on himself. But I think over the past, 18 months, he's kind of been humbled a lot, bounced around to a couple different teams, finally lands in Tampa having to fight Kyle Trask. Here's the doubters midseason when they go on that little losing streak. But he has been really good down the stretch, played really well. And Jordan Love, my God. I said it earlier, I haven't seen a turnaround like that in season ever, I don't think. He has gone from average, somewhere around the 18th to 22nd best quarterback in football for the first half of the year, to a bona fide top 10 starter in this league for the last 10 weeks. I mean, it's been fantastic to watch.
Yeah, we could see. I think we went to that Packers game.
We did go to the Packers
right before he turned it around and started kind of playing his ass off. Because he made some really good throws in that game where you looked up from the...
Like that throw to the corner off his back foot. It was beautiful.
Dot.
Yeah.
And we're like, does he have something there? And then after that game, turns it around, and the back half of that season was just something else. Better numbers than Aaron Rodgers? Come on.
Yeah. It's impressive nonetheless. Hit number 3 here. Both Tua and Dak. Come on now. I said it. We've been on it for years. Go ahead and take your September and October MVPs. Take them. That's fine. Them and the Bills can take their September Super Bowl, right? Those quarterbacks, they always perform big in the regular season. They always perform big early in the season. They're great with a lead. They're great at home when it's comfortable. When they have to go on the road and win a big game, or even help Dak at home and win a big game,
it's
impossible. It's impossible. It's like that meme where it's like, why they asked me to do the hardest things? It's like, all we asked you to do was beat the Packers at home with a better roster. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Tua, I get it. On the road, that's a really tough spot for Tua.
In like
negative if he loses, that's fine. You can't look like that in that loss, though. Yeah. You can't look like that. Mahomes looked exactly like Mahomes does, right? Even in the cold, Josh Allen looked like Josh Allen does, right? Everybody, no matter what the elements did, whether they had a good game or a bad game, they still at least had elements of the same player that they are in ideal conditions. Tua looked like a completely different guy. Yeah. Just not the same quarterback. They both shrink. I don't know. Okay, let me pose this question. Dak's contract's up. Tua's up for, a contract, and he's year 4 of his rookie deal right now. What do you do in that situation? Like, what do you do with these quarterbacks? Do you re-sign them? Do you not? Would you bring both of them back for their respective teams?
If I re-signed them, it would be nothing long-term, and it would only be if there was a 0% chance that I could get somebody this year or this offseason that I felt was going to be top half of the league.
Okay, so Dak is going to get a long-term deal from somebody, whether it be Dallas or not. If he hits the market, somebody will pay Dak big money. Period.
But the problem is...
You think Atlanta wouldn't sniff around that? That's laughable. There's so many... Dak, look, let's be fair. Dak's a top 15 quarterback.
I think so, too.
Dak's a top 15 quarterback.
He's a top 15 quarterback surrounded by one of the best rosters in football. What does he look like if he goes to Atlanta?
Well, I'm well aware of that, but let's be real. Dak is going to get big money deals from someone.
Yes.
So now if you're Dallas, if you want to keep him, you're going to have to pay him big. My argument would be, I can't pay him anything starting with a 4 or a 5. I can't do it. 37, I could do.
Excuse me, but you have to
I could do Dak for 30 something.
Yeah.
Because Dak right now, next year's cap is going to be $59.5 million.
Which is ridiculous.
I could pay him $39.5 million because then I get $20 extra million in cap space to build even better of a team around him. I can live with Dak for 39.
Yeah,
I cannot do Dak for 59.
You can't. You can't.
I can't even do Dak for 49.
If you're gonna garner anything over 39, I need to see a playoff win. I need to see something happen.
Yeah, miss number 3 here. I don't know why I expected this, but I thought that the Patriots would go make a young offensive coach type hire, right? Like a splash hire, but they went with Bill 2.0, Gerard Mayo. My biggest problem is that the only system he's been in as a player or coached in is the Bill Belichick system. Yeah. He played there for years. He's now been an assistant coach there for years. He doesn't know any different. it feels like it's going to be very Bill Belichick 2.0, does it not?
It does. The hire is very, very disappointing. And if I was a New England fan this morning, I would be sick.
They're ecstatic by it, and I get it. It's young. He's young. He's new blood. I get it. I just feel like it's going to be very Bill 2.0.
I don't get it.
I hope that he, as a young coach, has the foresight and the cutting edge thought process to go get a very good young offensive coordinator and say, hey, take it. I don't even want to look at the offense. Take it. I don't even want to touch it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Bill did when he didn't have a ton of power, when he let McDaniels kind of take the offense. That I'd be interested in. But I just don't know. I think you're going to need an absolute miracle to turn this roster.
Don't forget about a new quarterback, too.
Yeah, that's part of the miracle.
You're not winning right now.
Absolutely not. Not with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi.
I don't care who you have. You go get Mike McDaniel, you go get Kyle Shanahan. You're not winning with Bailey Zappi. I'm going to tell you right now.
No. Guys, that's hits and misses. Don't go anywhere. We will have the divisional round predictions next, as well as game of the week. Kansas City finally going on the road for the first time in Mahomes' playoff career at Buffalo. Can they get it done? We'll talk about that next. How we doing? We are back, second segment. We are heading into the divisional round of the playoffs, so we have a loaded show. We're going to get into all that here in just a second. With the predictions, game of the week, all that fun stuff. If you missed the first segment, we talked about NFL coaching is just in disarray right now. 3 games this past weekend. The Cowboys, the Eagles, the Steelers. What do you do with their coaches? I talked a little bit about that earlier, and we will talk a little bit about that to close out the show as well, so make sure you come back for that too. However you got here, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio is a big one now, which we love. Thank you guys very much. Apple, Amazon, all that fun stuff, guys. All the links are in the description of the show, found on the website. Go sign up for that newsletter. We have a ton of content coming out on a bunch of different platforms. We appreciate you finding one of those platforms and joining us.
Absolutely. Gotta love it.
Damn, that was one of my cleanest little intros, I
gotta
say.
I was going to say, last week you said, I think it was,
blah, blah, blah.
You found us here? We're on that platform. Blah, that platform, blah, this platform. There you go.
Yeah, that one wasn't my best one. I was just very excited to get into it, That's all.
Yeah, well,
Today I'm a little more patient.
We also had more games to get to last week. It wasn't very many, but we still had more games.
We only have 4 this week, which is just sad.
This is going to be one of our shorter prediction segments, which is kind of weird.
Sad.
Anyway, guys, we appreciate you being here. Like Tim mentioned, we have our divisional round predictions. Right now it's getting serious. We have 4 games. 4 of the best games of the season thus far. Let's go.
I mean, we'll do it in chronological order like we always do. And it's actually our very first and only split here. The Texans at the Ravens. You being a very big C.J. Stroud supporter. Now, granted, I think he's fantastic. Let me let that be known. It's not that I don't support him. I think he's fantastic. You're taking the Texans. I'll go ahead and go with the Ravens. Now, let's make it known. I think if there's any game with upset potential, it's this game right here. I don't think you're crazy for this being your, the one game that you're split on. I think them having rested most of their starters for now 2 weeks, so rested against Pittsburgh in week, was at 18, obviously getting the bye, so they're not playing during Super Wildcard weekend. Now having to play after 2 weeks of rest, I worry. I worry about that. The last time they were in a scenario like that where they rested for a week or more, they came out and they looked completely flat. So I just worry, is the intensity going to be there? Is that defense going to be ready to compete with the speed and the stress that they put on the defense vertically? I just don't know. I'll take the Ravens because I think they're a better team. I think top to bottom, in terms of roster, they're a better team, and there's not a massive quarterback advantage or disadvantage in either direction. Lamar's more shifty, a little bit more experienced in the playoffs, better off script. CJ has a bigger arm, more accurate down the field throwing deep passes, so I don't think there's an advantage or disadvantage in either direction. I'll go Ravens. I think it's a better team, a little bit of a hunch, and I just think the Texans, good, very good story. I think there's a bit of a ceiling.
I agree with you on the fact that Baltimore has a better roster. I don't think that can be argued. It's a top-to-bottom better football team. But in this spot, the Texans are red hot right now. They have had an amazing season, especially to Houston Texans standards. In NFL standards,
they were 3-13 they're 3-13-1 last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
you
that's
talk about a
turnaround.
rebound.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud has been special. I've been on him for over a year now. Might as well ride with it, right? I mean, what do I have to lose? What do I have to lose? If the Texans win here, I look like the smartest man in America.
So we do have some time here, and I think CJ Stroud is the wild card of this game. So let's play a little mini game here. C.J. Stroud or.
Okay.
Okay, so now you're a bigger C.J. Stroud guy, so I'll pose the questions to you. Let's go for the next. Okay, franchise quarterback next 10 years. Actually, you know what? That's a really long time.
Let's go 5.
Let's go 5 years.
Okay.
C.J. Stroud or Trevor Lawrence?
C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud or Anthony Richardson?
C.J. Stroud.
Okay. C.J. Stroud or Justin Herbert?
Justin Herbert.
Okay. C.J. Stroud or Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow.
C.J. Stroud or Lamar Jackson?
C.J. Stroud. I have reasoning for that one.
C.J. Stroud or Brock Purdy?
C.J. Stroud.
Okay, I figured. I was hoping.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. C.J. Stroud or Caleb Williams? We don't know where he's going to go yet, but
now that was
just
interesting.
Think about it.
I think coming into the league, I think Caleb Williams has more talent.
I think he's a better prospect.
And a way better prospect.
But we've seen C.J. Stroud ball out on the NFL level.
Yeah, so I'd take C.J. Stroud until I see more from Caleb Williams.
Okay, I think that's a fair point.
The Lamar one, though, I think Lamar has. I think he's got some miles on him now, right? Like
C.J. Stroud or Josh Allen?
Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Those are like the caliber guys that I'm riding.
Now, call me crazy. I'd take him over Joe Burrow.
Would you? Why's that?
Joe now has two, not significant. A finger isn't, or wrist isn't necessarily significant, but it's on his throwing hand. ACL year 1, throwing hand now year 4.
They can get dicey.
Joe, one more significant injury for Joe, especially lower body, it's done. Like he's not the same player. It's interesting, nonetheless.
Fair.
That was a little mini game there, a little C.J. Stroud or, because I know you're a big C.J. Stroud guy. So you view him as a fringe top 8 to 9 guy.
Yeah, and I think when
that's
we start
already
doing,
as a rookie.
When we start doing like the top 10 quarterbacks next season, I think he's cemented himself in the top 10.
Okay.
At least for the first ranking.
I think that's fair. The Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. I love the Packers story. Again, nobody gave him a chance against Dallas. I did. I'd love to say they have that same exact shot, but I think San Francisco is a significantly better team than Dallas, and I think they just match up better. You saw Green Bay out-physical them. You saw them out-clever Dallas, right? What does San Francisco do well? Very clever offensive coach, very, very physical at the lines of scrimmage. Like, I think what Green Bay does well, San Francisco is perfectly built to counteract. So for that reason, and I think just overall better roster, more experience, I would go San Francisco. The 10 points is a lot of points. I'd probably lean San Fran even at 10. I'd love to see that come down to 9.5 if we get some Packer money coming in, so I'll wait on that. But either way, this isn't bets on a budget. I'm just taking predictions. I'll go San Francisco.
Yeah, you have to go San Francisco here. They are far and away the best team, the juggernaut of the NFL. You can't pick. Could I see it being close? Maybe. But you can't pick an upset here, right? Like, you can't go against the 49ers.
I would agree. And last year they were my Super Bowl
home.
pick, and I think this year, now with Dallas and Philly out, which I didn't think super highly of those teams, but, like, they're up there, man. San Francisco probably should be the favorite right now.
I think so, too.
All right, next one here, Lions hosting the Buccaneers. I'll go with the home team, Detroit Lions. Jared Goff at home has been fantastic. He's like 120 pass rating this year at home or inside of a dome. Like, indoors, Jared Goff's unbelievable. And look, the Buccaneers defense played well Monday night. I don't think that is what they are as a unit. I think there were good plays down the field from Philadelphia. They just couldn't capitalize when it mattered most. I think the defense can get got a little bit. I think the Lions are the team to do it. They stress cover 2 and cover 4, so 2 high safety looks. The Lions are really, really good at attacking, and we know the Bucs play that, and they like to bring pressure out of cover 4. I love the Lions to kind of exploit that. I'll take Detroit at home. The number, I think it's 6 as of right now for the Lions. Look for that to come down a little bit. If it gets down to 5.5, I'll take the Lions. We'll see.
The Lions are also playing inspired football. That team is rolling. I feel like Tampa Bay, like, you know the meme where it's like, oh, we're just kind of happy to be here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like that's where they're at right now. Like, nobody really thought a team from the NFC South would battle their way to this point in the divisional round.
Especially not beating the Eagles, the defending NFC champs, 32-9.
Right. That just doesn't happen all the time. Baker played great in the wild card round. Can't argue with it. He did. But against the Lions defense and in this spot, I just think the Lions are better suited to win this game.
I would agree. Let's give you a little mini preview here of the game of the week before we get more in depth.
Yeah.
the Bills hosting Kansas City, first road playoff game of Patrick Mahomes' career. We've seen this matchup at Arrowhead quite a bit. How does it change in Buffalo? I'm taking Buffalo. I said this when they won. I think they were 6-6. They won that game to go to 7-6, and I said I think Buffalo. Watch out for Buffalo. Maybe it was when they went to 8-6. I said watch out for Buffalo. I think that'd be my pick right now to come out of the AFC.
For sure.
I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, you have to go Buffalo here. I think Kansas City is good. Obviously, they've been a solid team, a solid organization, but the receiver problem worries me. I think their team is a whole.
Hell, even Travis Kelce can't catch the damn ball now.
I know it's. I don't know who to trust on their offense outside of Mahomes, and we've seen that Mahomes can't do it by himself. And Buffalo's rolling. I mean, Buffalo has caught their stride.
Yeah, so I'll pick the Bills. We'll get more in depth here in a second. We got like a minute before we move on here. Has anybody gone from likable to more unlikable and easily hated than Travis Kelce? Can't stand the guy. Cannot stand the guy.
Is it the Taylor Swift thing, or is it like what is it?
I got double jabbed. It's the Taylor Swift thing. It's the double jab. It's the whole the Pittsburgh Steelers don't know what they have. Yeah, mediocrity. I know exactly what we have. It's mediocrity. Just running his mouth all the time, and now this season not being able to back it up. It's kind of awesome.
Like I love his brother Jason is awesome.
Yeah, I maybe hate's a strong word, but he's gone from likable, highly likable, to like. I don't hate when I see him drop a pass. You know what I mean? Like I kind of smile a little bit when he fails. So like I hope they get boat raced. I'll take the Bills.
Okay, sounds good, man. Let's dive more into that game. We have to. It's game of the week time. We don't usually have it at this point in the show, but I feel like it should be pretty good here. Kind of round out all the predictions here. All right, so let's go. Game of the week: Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Orchard Park to play the Buffalo Bills. Let's go.
I don't know what I want to start with here. See, like, Kansas City's the defending champs. Buffalo's technically favored. We'll start with Kansas City as the underdog actually coming in. So I think what the line is at 2.5 now. Let me double check, guys. I don't want to give you false information. As of right now, Buffalo is favored by 2.5 at home. Weather, again, we're a little far out to know exactly what the weather's going to be. Again, this is one of those where it's Kansas City has the playoff medal, right? So you're like, well, they've been there, they've done that. But to be fair, Buffalo has as well, and we've only seen Buffalo go on the road and play Kansas City tough. What happens when it comes and it's at their house, right? So I have a feeling Buffalo is just a downhill force right now. Let's go ahead and get into keys to win, and I'll kind of give us more of a picture on where we go with this game. So Kansas City offense, I think you got to run the damn rock, and I think you have to go over the middle. So again, to sum up there, key to victory, attack the middle of the field if you're the Kansas City offense. We saw the Steelers do it, right? Firemouth down the middle, running the ball with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris. Those draws up the middle were working. I think if you can get combo blocks in the middle, climb to the second level, Sean McDermott plays a little bit more 3-4 than a lot of people do, especially in passing situations. That's why we saw the draws work, because you can combo block that nose guard, and then you can get up to the next level and get some bodies on some backers. You make one guy miss, next thing you know, you're into the secondary, right? So in those passing type situations, if you could surprise him with some runs, run the ball up the middle, hit Travis Kelce over the middle, right? I don't like Kelce, but if we can get him going over the middle as a Kansas City guy and a Kansas City fan, that's exactly where you would want to be. So attacking the middle of the field, we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers do it, and they're not even a very good team, right? So Kansas City, attack the middle both with the run game and the play action fake down the middle with your tight ends. Kansas City defense, turnovers. You have to pressure Josh Allen, and you have to pressure him in a smart manner. We talked about that. Rush discipline. If you don't, he's going to make you pay. Right, if you go haywire and you crash too far in or you go too wide, he's going to scoot out of the pocket. He's going to run the football. And in cold weather, do you want to tackle 260 pounds moving at 20 miles an hour?
No,
I have no interest in that. None whatsoever. 6'5", 250, running up to 20 miles an hour. I just have no interest in tackling that in what feels like -5-degree weather, and right? So
that's going to be something that wears down a secondary that you don't need worn down either.
Absolutely, because that's the strength of your team. So if Buffalo can wear that secondary down, oh man. For the Buffalo offense, though, tight end usage. Dalton Kincaid went off against the Steelers. Now, to be fair, the Steelers don't have great cover linebackers, but also to be fair, neither does Kansas City.
Yeah.
I don't mind Kansas City's safeties; they're not too bad. So if you can get some safety tight end matchups, maybe okay, you might be all right. But two good tight ends. there's not a second guy on Kansas City that can cover a tight end as well as you would need to, because Dawson Knox and Kincaid are both very well above average tight ends.
For sure, yeah.
So if you're Buffalo, use those tight ends. You did it against Pittsburgh. I think that's one of your keys to victory there on offense. And Buffalo defense got to get pressure with 4. There's nobody in the history of the NFL better against the blitz than Patrick Mahomes, period. End of story. He's got a 100-plus passer rating against the blitz. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. Like, for example, we talked about Jared Goff's stats against pressure last week. I think I have it right here. Let's see here. Jared Goff on... let's see. Sorry, I got to find it. Because this is interesting. We got time.
Yeah.
Pressured completion rate, Jared Goff, 53%. 53%. Like, that's insane. I think Mahomes, I don't have it in front of me, is up closer to like 65%. It's just unheard of. Guys are not good when they have guys in their face. That's normal. That's kind of how it goes.
Mahomes is the anomaly.
But Mahomes is the anomaly, absolutely. So you have to get pressure with 4. If you can drop 7, you have a good chance, especially because none of these guys can get open. You know what I mean? Rasheed Rice is good, but... other than that, it's just like a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
It's Sky Moore. Kadarius Toney. McCole Hardman. Like, just underwhelming, right? So, if you can get pressure with 4, drop 7, Buffalo has a good chance. Let me give you my little game script here. Here's how I think it's going to go. I'm not getting into a coin flip.
I was going to say, who wins the coin toss?
Fine, I'll get into it. Let's go coin flip. I'm going to go Kansas City. They defer. Normally, they would accept it. But the defense is their strength, so they're going to defer, put their strength of their team on the field first.
Okay.
Put Buffalo on their heels, try to blitz Josh Allen, see if they can get a momentum play to start the game. Try to steal a possession. I think it will work. I think it'll be a bend, not break type of scenario. I think Buffalo kicks a field goal to start. I think Kansas City drives down, matches their field goal. I think at halftime, we're looking at a 13-10 game. I'll take Buffalo 13-10 at half.
Okay.
Then I think they start to separate running the football, being physical, getting to Mahomes. Frustration sets in for the defending champs. I think after 3, we're looking at a 23-10 ball game, Buffalo. I think Kansas City makes it interesting. I think we finish 26-21 Buffalo.
All right. I like it. That was in
depth. Give me 26-20. Give me 26-20 Buffalo.
26-20.
26-20 Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be lower scoring. I'm going to go 24-17 Buffalo.
24-17. All right.
I think
no game script from you?
Well, okay. I'm not doing. You gave us the coin toss. You gave us all that. I'm just going to give you a brief
synopsis.
Breakdown. Yeah.
All right. Like who leads early? Who controls the middle?
Yeah.
Who comes out late?
Honestly, I think Kansas City jumps off to an early lead. I think they get a touchdown. They probably score a touchdown on their first or second drive. After that, maybe kick a field goal. They're looking at 10 points. And I think Buffalo maybe struggles to get out of the gate. Honestly, a little bit of a hangover. 10-7 at half, but in favor of the Chiefs.
Oh, interesting.
I think after halftime, Buffalo puts together a fantastic game plan. They come out. It's all Josh Allen and the Bills from there on out. Ends 24-17. Bills win.
Interesting. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and transition into a little break here. When we get out of the break, we'll have some sports news for you, a little college football news. Kalen DeBoer, new head coach of Bama. We'll talk more about that. What's Harbaugh's future look like in college football as well? Washington found their replacement. So we'll get to all that, and then we will talk NFL coaching hires. So we'll talk a little bit of college football coaching, and then we'll get into some NFL coaching hires and possible vacancies and what to do there.
Let's go. Third segment of the issue on Thursday, January 18th, episode 221. We got a good segment here for you. A great episode, but good segment. So we're going to start with the news. We have our coaching discussion / coaching carousel to get to finish the show and to end this segment. So
we haven't done a good just open discussion conversation type segment.
It's been a while.
And so I'm excited to do that one next.
See, that's the thing that we get with I guess the off season ish. We get more time to sit to discuss, to argue a little bit.
We started this during COVID. We don't even watch basketball, and we had a Jordan versus LeBron discussion. That's how barren the sports landscape was.
Good God, that was bad.
Yeah. So we started this when there weren't any
It
sports.
was July of 2020, and we were like, oh, yeah, there's nothing on?
We're like, LeBron's better than Jordan.
Let's talk about
Which
sports.
I would stand behind, but that's besides
The
the
amount
point.
of lists, we were going like best players based on who have moms that are under 45. Like, it was bad.
We're
We
like,
were
all right,
searching for content.
Like best baseball players that also own a Labrador Retriever. And you're like, what the hell is this list?
It got bad.
We were ranking like the worst fan bases, the best. I mean, it was wild.
Yeah.
It was the wild, wild west. But yeah,
We have a lot of content now, and that's what matters. So, like I said, news, coaching discussion. Guys, make sure you're going to theissuesports.com. Never miss anything that comes out from the show, especially this time of the year with the playoffs and everything.
Mom's under 40. Was Zach Wilson at the top of that list? Was Zach Wilson even drafted at that point? He would have just
Was
been
that
drafted.
the Zach Wilson? That was the
He
Zach
had
Wilson
just been
draft.
drafted that April.
Like
We were
him
talking about it
and
in July.
Trevor
yeah.
Lawrence and all that.
Yeah, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields.
So yeah, he would have been at the top of the list. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We have the news. As I was saying, go follow the Instagram, TikTok, Twitter if you want more of this dumbassery type of content.
The third segment is all just it goes off the. There's no rules. No rules apply here in the third segment.
Like 2 episodes ago, we lost a light. We had shadows
Yeah,
everywhere.
that was wild.
It tends to go off the rails here in the third segment. So make sure some good content. You guys should enjoy it. But without further ado, let's hop right into the news before this can go any further. We got some good stories to get to.
I was put on the serious game face here, people. Game face. Should get some eye black. Story number 1 here. Kalen DeBoer, new head coach for Alabama, signs that contract and agrees to be the Bama head coach to replace, of course, legend Nick Saban. Now, we didn't touch on that at all, really, the retirement of Nick Saban. I'm not a big, hey, let's get on and do, some sort of memorial-type rant for coaches that, retire or whatever.
He didn't die.
Exactly. He's a really, it's not like, what am I going to get? Well, Nick Saban was pretty good. He's legendary. Okay.
Obviously.
No shit, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to listen to that. That to me is the most boring, unless he's for some reason, doubted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pete Carroll got a lot of pushback, I think Pete is a future Hall of Famer. Love Pete, right? Unless it's one of your ride or die guys, okay, cool. Saban retired. Good for him. Go live it up. I think the bigger discussion is head coaching jobs in college football just aren't as good as they used to be. It is a 360 days a year job. You have to recruit on 4 different fronts now. You have to recruit the transfer portal. You have to recruit your own players to stay. You have to recruit high school players. You have to recruit high school players you already have committed because they'll flip in an instant.
Yeah.
It's no fun. Having to recruit your own players every single day is just brutal.
Yeah.
It's the wild, wild west, and I think it's good for college football in terms of a television product, but that doesn't mean it's enjoyable as a head coaching position anymore.
No, that is of the utmost stress. I mean, you have to make sure your top players are staying and that you're going to have a job the next year because of it.
And you have to do this weird little dance where you're not allowed to talk to the players about NIL, but you have to talk to them about it because your quarterback's like, well, I want to make this and I want to start, but you can't be like, hey, I can give you that. That's somehow illegal. Meanwhile, if the dude down the hallway, that's the boosters coordinator, the boosters guy says that, then that's fine. It's a shit show in college football. And I think Saban was going to leave here in the next couple years. And I think eventually he was just like, you know what? That was a pretty good coaching job this year. A team that had to transfer or had to switch quarterbacks about 4 times. You finally go back to Jalen Milroe. He's more of a runner than a thrower. We make him a little bit of both. We get to a Rose Bowl and come within 1 play of beating one of the best college teams in the past decade. And he's just like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. That's good. I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
I think the stress may have accelerated this a bit.
Yeah, but anyway, I think Kalen DeBoer is a good hire. I think he's got some recruiting limitations, but I think with the base of Bama, I think he'll be fine recruiting. He kind of reminds me of Chip Kelly, where Chip doesn't love to go out and kind of kiss the booster's ass and kiss recruits' ass. He's hey, this is my program. I'll make you a good player. Come if you want to come. It's like, yeah, are you coming to my program or not? Okay, sorry. I'm not going to sit here and kiss your ass for it, right?
Right.
And so I don't think Kalen's as gruff and as rigid as Chip Kelly, which I love Chip, by the way. But Kalen's a fantastic coach. Really good in-game coach. Very good scheming. He made Sark look like a baby coach, and Sark's a fantastic coach.
Well, and if you're Alabama, that's what you need too. I mean, we talk about how we just said how easy it is for players to flip and hit the transfer portal and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
When you lose a legend like Nick Saban, you're going to have a lot of that's I guess on the brink of happening. So you have to bring somebody in that has the experience, that is going to kind of steady the room a
Yeah,
little bit.
I think it's going to start slow, but I think once people realize what DeBoer can do for offensive players and what he's going to be able to do to produce them to getting to the next level, he's going to have 3 receivers drafted. Michael Penix is going to get drafted. Their running back's going to get drafted. 3 of their offensive linemen are going to get drafted.
Bama will be just fine.
Like, so once people start to see that and see what he can provide for their offensive players, I think you're going to get a ton of people flooding to Alabama offensively.
For sure.
And Jed Fish, the Arizona coach, was hired to replace DeBoer in Washington. Good hire. Not going to touch on that a lot. Don't really care too much about Jed Fish, for being honest. Story number 2 here. According to Adam Schefter, even the Chargers tweeted themselves, Harbaugh has interviewed for that Chargers job. And according to Schefter, all signs point to Harbaugh making the transition to the NFL. I would also agree. I think he's gone for the same reason, right? That's a job that just isn't as fun anymore, being in college football. I think it's a much better job to be in professional football, and that's been the case for almost ever. But I think even more so now with the portal, with NIL, just how much is on the plate of these college football coaches. It's just so much. And if I'm Harbaugh, I would take the Chargers job. I think Herbert, those skill position guys, you have a top 5 pick, which when's the next time Justin Herbert-led team is going to have a top 5 pick? Let me start with never and go from there, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be entering at the right time. So good for Harbaugh. And he's going to lose 7 guys on his offense and 6 on his defense to the draft. He's going to get 12, 13 players drafted. So he's going to have to, it's almost going to be a reboot year. Get out of Michigan. Let them figure it out. You're going to get those stupid penalties from the NCAA, which are asinine. So just go to the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And he has the resume for it. Like, we've seen it happen before.
Absolutely. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he was great with the 49ers. He will have no trouble going back and inserting to the NFL. And I think in this Charger spot is the best spot for him. I think that's the spot that the Brian Daboll should have gotten.
Yeah.
But
I think if you're a middling or average coach, as a candidate, really no job in the NFL is a bad job, right? If you're a very average candidate, Jim Harbaugh is not, right? You are the best of the best. Not every job is a good job. That Carolina job isn't a good job. That Atlanta job is not a good job if you're Harbaugh. The Chargers is a great job for Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Great job.
And we'll get to that in the coaching carousel.
Yeah. Story number 3 here. Quinn Ewers set to return to Texas. What does that mean for Arch Manning? Who knows? He said he doesn't want to transfer. I think Quinn will be very good. Would I make the transition to Arch? I probably would. But Quinn will probably be better than him for this coming year. I would rather see growing pains from Arch and see that develop. But to be fair, Texas feels a little bit like Michigan did this year, right? Really, really good. Developing. Quarterback that's a little erratic. J.J. McCarthy, Quinn Ewers. Really, really close losing the semifinal, right? I feel like Texas is next year, they're going to be set. Really good in the trenches. Good run game. Returning quarterback. Ton of experience. Really, really good head coach that everybody doubts. Sark kind of feels like Harbaugh, right? Kind of a villain to a lot of people. So I get the move for Quinn Ewers to come back. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's great for Texas football. I think Manning has some things that he needs to work out and figure out what he's going to do personally. I know he doesn't want to transfer, but if you want to play and you want to get that recognition now, I
think it would be more beneficial for him to sit and wait.
Yeah.
He went to like a 1A high school. So
like the anti-Joe Burrow method.
Well, Joe Burrow sat for like 4 years at OSU and then transferred. Or 3 years, something like that. So
he did sit for
and he waited, yeah. It wasn't like he was like, oh, you're one, see ya, going to LSU, right? I think he sat for 2 or 3 years and then transferred. So
yeah.
Anyway, Cam Ward, also the transfer from Washington State, commits to Miami. He was up back and forth. He declared for the draft, then undeclared, committed here, decommitted there, had crystal ball to OSU, ends up going to Miami. Good get for Miami, although I don't think they're ever really going to be relevant in the college football landscape again, or at least in the near future. So
I agree.
Just to keep you updated there, that is the news.
3 good college football stories, too.
It's almost turned into a college football segment because right now, I'm not going to talk about basketball. There's really not a lot going on in baseball.
Nothing going on in hockey.
Yeah, the Pens beat the Kraken 3-0. You've been updated. It really doesn't really
They're
matter.
still battling. I think they're 7th or 8th in the Metropolitan. So
they're not in the playoffs as of right now.
Yeah.
Not even close. So
anyway, it is time for the coaching carousel. So we got how many openings? 6, 7?
We have 7 openings right now. We're kind of just gonna, for lack of a better term, BS. We're just gonna kind of go back and forth here. Who should they hire? Who do we think is the right, type of guy for the position? Who would you hire? Who would I hire, etc.
All right, so what team are we starting with?
Well, I don't know. I just listed them here in a random order, so let's just go in that one. Let's go with the Seattle Seahawks job. So, for me, if I'm the Seahawks, I had 15 or 14 years of defensive, I don't want to say rigid, but very defensive-focused, defensive-leaning head coach, run the ball. defense, secondary, trenches. Those are all very good things to build on. But they already have that. They have a ton of defensive talent. They have a ton of young offensive talent. But you don't really have the franchise quarterback. Is Geno good for you? Sure. You want to keep stitching it together? Fine, right? Rip the Band-Aid off. Find your next franchise quarterback. And for that reason, I would go an offensive coach. I think defensive coaches can be really good with quarterbacks, right? C.J. Stroud and DeMeco Ryans are the outlier, though, right? Look at all the young quarterbacks that have developed into really good players. Mahomes with Andy Reid, Jalen Hurts with Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni. For Nick Sirianni's flaws, he's an offensive guy, has helped develop Jalen Hurts. Even a veteran like Dak and the step forward he took this year with an offensive coach, Mike McCarthy, Kyle Shanahan and whoever. Jared Goff when he was in LA with McVay. Now Stafford in LA with McVay.
Yeah.
Those offensive guys, Mike McDaniel and Tua, right?
So
the
offense is
majority.
the way to go.
Yes, I would go offensive coach. I would go and see what it would take to get Ben Johnson, the OC for the Lions.
I'm going to write these down for you. Ben Johnson to Seattle.
I would go. That's what I would go with, yeah.
All right. Who we got next?
Well, who would you take? You agreeing?
Yeah, I agree. I offense is definitely the way to go. Quite honestly, I think all these teams should go offense.
That's fair.
But you need somebody young, and you need somebody that's going to bring something to the table, and that's what I know. The Steelers' job isn't open yet. It might be by the time you freaking watch this, but get the most nerdy Mike McDaniel type person you can that's going to come up with the most clever schemes and kind of shake things up a little bit.
I think you need to go.
There.
Yeah, I think you need to go get a young quarterback, and offensive coaches develop young quarterbacks.
Ben Johnson fits nice in Seattle, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Chargers. We already talked about Harbaugh. I think Harbaugh is the guy there. That is one of the best job openings in the past decade with Herbert. Those pieces, you have everything you need. You have a left tackle. You have an edge rusher. You have a quarterback. You have a receiver, and you have a top 5 pick. Right? People are like, well, the cap situation. Cut Khalil Mack. He's been very average at best. J.C. Jackson comes off your books next year. Get Derwin James out of here. We're not overpaying for a safety. Somebody will go pay a 4th-round pick for him, right? Like, move off some of these more expensive cap hits. Get young and cheap on defense. Load up on offense. Harbaugh can create a culture in the trenches. Not only is he a culture creator, he's a very good offensive coach. He's more of a offensive scheme guy, walk-around guy on game day. So maybe he retains Kellen Moore, who's been a very good play caller. Questionable scheme, so have Harbaugh help him out. Ton of experience. I would go Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I think he fits really well there. And I think it's tough for college coaches to come to the NFL, but in this instance, he has, like I said, he has the resume. He has the experience, and he's going to be respected by those guys from day one. So that's not a problem.
Yeah. Falcons, I would say you need to go get somebody that's been there and done that, been a head coach before. This is actually the one spot I wouldn't hate defense. Their defense isn't good, and you have a ton of talent offensively. But you have to find somebody on the defensive side of the ball that can bring an offensive coordinator with him that we've seen success with. My idea would be, so Dan Quinn was already there. They're not going to rehire Dan Quinn. I would keep your eye on Pete Carroll and bringing maybe Shane Waldron, who is in Seattle as we speak right now, as the offensive coordinator. Maybe he gets, I think, Schottenheimer was his OC for a while in Seattle. I think keep your eye on Pete Carroll. They need a culture. Right now, if I said, what is Atlanta? I don't really know. Blow a bunch of leads.
A team with misdirection.
Underwhelming, right? Pete can build a culture. I would keep your eye on Pete Carroll to the Falcons.
Okay. I mean, here's my only reservation about Pete Carroll is when is enough? Like, when are you too old to coach in this league?
I think Pete's got too much energy. I think he's fine. I don't think Pete is too old at all.
How old is he?
70-something. I don't care.
Like late 70s?
No, he's early 70s. Early to mid 70s.
Really?
I think he's 74.
Is that right?
I don't know.
I'm going to
Look
check.
it up. How old do you think Nick Saban is?
Isn't he like 68
Wrong.
or 69?
70.
Okay.
Something. I don't know.
I was going to say that was aggressive.
I'll look up Saban.
Okay, Pete Carroll's 72.
72.
Right. Nick Saban's 72.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So, like, they're fine. They don't look a day over 60, right? Pete has plenty of energy. He's fine. Okay, Titans. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm not 100% sure here on the Titans. To me, they tried the defensive thing. I would try to pivot back to offense. Shocker. I just don't know. Do you have any ideas here?
I was thinking big prediction, and I was thinking defensive, actually, because I think that's kind of what fits, and they need...
Are you thinking Belichick?
I was either thinking Belichick or predict something.
Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin leaves the Steelers.
Interesting.
Goes down to Tennessee.
Now that's interesting.
Do you like that? Because
I think it's interesting.
I think it could be pretty productive. I think
that's so interesting. I think the only other thing that I would maybe lean is Dan Quinn, although now he's defensive. But I think he's grown a lot in Dallas. But then again, seeing that drubbing this past weekend, I don't know if he gets an offer.
No.
I think he does somewhere, though. I think he does somewhere.
I mean,
here's what I think they should. They already tried the profound, like, big guy in the room, Vrabel, which I think he had some success. Oh, I just don't. This is a
like,
really
what if you
tough
give it to
one.
Tomlin? Tomlin's able to. Tomlin gives a lot of the power to the players. You get a little swag going in Tennessee. Some of those guys, I mean, it can be a good thing sometimes. It doesn't always turn into a Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown situation.
That's interesting. Let's leave it. I'm going to leave an IDK there.
You want to leave a question mark?
I just don't know. The Panthers. I think they're going to make a desperate hire. I think they're going to make a poor hire. We hear the term Bobby Slowick get thrown around. I think Bobby Slowick's very, very smart. He's very good on the offensive side of the football. He's the OC in Houston. You've seen what happened with C.J. Stroud. He's been an offensive coordinator for 1 year. Like, can we seriously, let's be for real right now. This is not going to be hating on Bobby Slowick. We've seen coordinators after a year try it. It does not work. It flatly does not work.
Is that who your prediction is for them?
I think they make a poor hire and go Bobby Slowick.
Well, it's a poor organization.
By the way, let me throw a name out there for the Titans, by the way. And nobody's talking about it because he's on TV and he's kind of, you're like, okay, he's out of the spotlight. Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett's won a lot of games. He's been an NFL quarterback before. He worked with Tony Romo. He worked with Dak. Could they draft a quarterback and say, you know what, let's get a veteran guy in here, like a Doug Peterson with Trevor Lawrence, and develop a young guy?
Could work.
That's going to be the name I throw out there. I'm going to go Jason Garrett to the Titans.
Jason Garrett to the Titans?
I don't think it'll happen, but that's what I would hire. That's what I would do. I think the Panthers, I don't know what I would do, but I think that's what they will do. Tepper's a terrible owner, and he's going to have his hands all over that hire, and I think he's going to reach a little bit and go with Bobby Slowick.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go with the Raiders.
Of Las Vegas.
Now, a lot of people have been throwing Belichick out there. I don't think it's Belichick. I think it's a Belichick disciple. And here's what's interesting. I think because this guy can bring an offensive coordinator that we've seen work, I think that's why the Raiders do it. A lot of people want them to hire Antonio Pierce. Same idea. He's been a coordinator he's been in the NFL coaching for like 4 or 5 years. Not enough time for me on task. Mike Vrabel brings Arthur Smith as his offensive coordinator, recently fired. Look, we can argue Arthur Smith, head coach all day. When they were with Vrabel, they were the number 1 seed. You know what I mean? So we know Arthur Smith can be an offensive coordinator. I think Vrabel, he's been to a bunch of practices. They should go Vrabel. If Max Crosby wants to demand a trade if you don't hire Antonio Pierce, good, trade him. Look, I'm not saying that Max Crosby isn't a good player, isn't a valuable player. Go ahead and get a second-round pick for Crosby. Go demand a trade. Who cares? I want a good coach more than a good edge rusher.
Okay.
I can draft an edge rusher.
That's fair.
Commanders. So
it's the
by the way,
last team here.
Yeah, last team. I like Bill Belichick to either the Cowboys or Philly, depending on which one opens. Because I think one of them is going to open up. One of them is going to open up, and I think Bill would rather fill one of those first.
Okay.
If that's not the case, though, I think the Commanders get Bill Belichick. They need to make a splash. The owners are loaded. Belichick likes the East Coast. It just feels right to me. I don't know. I think it's either that or they go get whoever the offensive coordinator or whoever another young offensive mind is in San Francisco. I don't know. Pick one of them. There's probably like 4 geniuses on the staff under Shanahan. Yeah. Go pick one of them because their new GM came from San Francisco, helped John Lynch build that juggernaut. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they said, hey, let's just go get whoever the young offensive mind is in San Fran. Again, I don't know him off the top of my head. I think Belichick, though, is a very interesting candidate there.
You make a point. I think
Philly fire Sirianni, and I think that's where he goes. But if they don't, I think he goes to the Commanders.
Okay. You think he would make the move to Dallas if required?
I think it would go. Yeah. I think so. I think he would.
I don't know if that'd be any fun for America's team. I think people in Dallas would be kind of pissed off.
I don't know. Well, I think they would rather him than Mike McCarthy. Let's say that. I don't think there's a ton of buy-in from McCarthy.
You think Mike McCarthy ends up anywhere?
No. Maybe as a coordinator or something. Not as a head coach. I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Did you see Dak where it's like anybody that thinks Mike McCarthy should be fired or something like that, or has any questions about his future, you should also have questions about mine. And I was like,
we do. Don't worry.
I was gonna say, you're not gonna believe this. We already do.
Actually,
bro.
dude, all of America has questions about your future.
Guess what? We already do, man.
Have you not turned on any sort of sports talk show, media, whatsoever? Like, did you delete Instagram? Because I saw you post the picture of you walking into the stadium with the "Here we go" beanie on.
Which, by the way, is the most annoying thing I've ever heard. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, like,
I don't like it.
first of all, we tried to put that on a shirt, but it turns out that phrase is coined by the Pittsburgh Steelers and actually trademarked under the Steelers. So, how'd you make the beanie, Dak?
I wonder if you got to put the extra O's probably. Here we go. No.
I don't know. They probably still would have flagged us.
Whatever. The NFL doesn't like us.
Everybody's out.
The NFL's got something against us.
They're afraid, quite honestly.
They're afraid. Too small. That's it. That's all we got.
Anyway, that was the show. Third segment was pretty good there, like it always is. But anyway, guys, go check out the social media, the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter. All of the links can be found on our website, and the website link is in the description of the episode or the video, no matter where you're watching it, listening to it. If you click in the description, you can get to our website. It's also, easily searchable, theissuesports.com. So make sure you go do that. Sign up for the newsletter while you're there. Never miss anything that comes out about the show. There's a lot of stuff coming out now, and especially with the playoffs, a lot to get to. So we will see you back here next Thursday to predict the championship round, the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship. Who's going to be the two teams representing both sides in
Baltimore
the Super
and Buffalo.
Bowl? Baltimore and Buffalo. And
what did I say? San Fran and Detroit.
There you go. That's what it should be next week. Guys, follow along on SoBet. Use code THEISSUE when you sign up. Don't miss out on free money this week. We'll see you back here next week when you're richer from winning our bets.
Of course.
And that was The Issue.